So for someone who is a beginner and they want to start with the compounding, can you tell something about that, especially the systems that we were talking?
So when it comes to exercise, and so I divide into three buckets. I hit into three buckets like diet, exercise, and sleep.
What are some learnings that really opened your eyes? Let's say your top two learnings.
Diet, and one other tip that I would give is I don't have junk food in my house at all. Like I have a morning routine because I feel like morning is something that I have control in. At that time, like most likely my son and my wife would be sleeping, so I have like full control of my time.
Systems you have created in health that are non-negotiables. I know we have talked about junk food, but are there more systems that you have created around this?
Yeah, sure.
Namaste and welcome to Healing with Awareness, a podcast series of the people, for the people, and by the people. Hi, my name is Agrim Singh and I am an integrative health coach. Satish is the founder of the Compounding Project with over 20,000 followers on Instagram. And after hosting many guests on his podcast, he has decided to share the valuable lessons he has learned over the years. In this episode 7 of the podcast, we will talk about the power of compounding and how you can apply it to improve your physical, social, and mental well-being. So let's get started.
Satish, what inspired you to create Compounding Project?
First of all, thanks Agrim for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be on the podcast. I've been following your stuff for a long time. It's very good actually to be on this show and then talk to you about like Compounding Project. So when it comes to inspiration to start the Compounding Project, I want to maybe take a step back and talk to you about a story that I first encountered like probably 10 years ago. So I came to the US in 2013. So I was born and brought up in India at a place called Sirsila, which is like 3 hours from Hyderabad. So I came to the US in 2013. I did my master's, finished in 2015, and that's when I started working for a pharmaceutical company. So I had been working for 1 year, and then I was commuting to work, and I got a call from my friend on a Monday evening. He asked me to send like $300 because he had to fill some fees, like send check to an immigration department, and then he wanted me to send like $300. And then I looked at my account. Actually, I had less than $100, and I was like, I had been working for 1 year, and I was making $60,000 per month at that time, which is a decent amount of money. So I was just thinking to myself, like, what's happening? Like, I don't have even $100 to send it to my friend. I was just like living paycheck to paycheck, basically. So on the outside, it looks like I came to the US. I've been working for a company, but on the inside, actually, I was living a shitty financial life. So I thought, okay, this is not what I was supposed to be like, when I'm working for a full-time job. So I immediately, like everybody else, I just Googled, how to save money. And then I came across a few bunch of articles, like blogs and stuff. So at that time, since I was working, I didn't have too much time. So I thought, okay, I'll just at least listen to podcast. And there was a podcast at that time. It's called Optimal Finance Daily. And it was basically reading blogs for you. So when you commute, or you can read the blogs. So they'll just read that stuff. So I did that, and then while commuting, I was just listening to so many blogs, and then just about money, like so many blogs. And then there was this one blog, particularly, it talks about a book called "I Will Teach You to Be Rich" by Ramit Sethi, and that book, it kept coming up, in multiple times in those blogs. So I was like, okay, it was written by an Indian author called Ramit Sethi. So I could relate to it. So I thought, okay, I'll just read that book. And I ordered that book. I read that book. I finished that during a week. And it was so good because it could relate to where I was, 10 years ago. It was just talking about, why you won't have enough money or how can you invest. And also that's the first time I came across the concept of compounding, which we're going to talk about later. But it blew my mind. I was like, okay, I think everybody should know this. And then I went to the rabbit hole of reading books, and then read several books, and that's when I understood the power of compounding, and then I started implementing that to my money, and then I started seeing results. And then also thought, okay, what other things I can use compounding, right? And then I came up with these 3 buckets that I call a 3-bucket framework, which is like health, wealth, and wisdom. So I started implementing that and started seeing results in that areas as well. And then I thought, okay, people should know this. I decided probably in like 2020 that I need to start an Instagram page, but it took me like 2 years just to post that my first post, because I was like, feeling insecure. I thought what people would think of me. But so I decided in 2020, and then I actually started in 2022 my Instagram page called Compounding Project. And then it's been going good so far. I'm grateful for all the comments that I get and also impact that I create. And that's a long story about Compounding Project.
This is a beautiful and a very inspiring story, Satish. But for a viewer, what is compounding and how can they actually use compounding in health, wealth, and wisdom?
Yeah, sure. That's a good question. That's the most common question that I get. Like, what is compounding project? Like, what do you mean by compounding? So I want to maybe give a example like when it comes to like health to wealth and wisdom, so that like people would understand. Maybe start with health first. So compounding is a principle of gaining significant results by taking small steps consistently over a long period of time. So I know, that sounds like a definition, right? Textbook definition. But what it means is like, when you take small habits and keep repeating them, and over a long period of time, you'll actually see significant results. So I'll take when it comes to like health, like how compounding impacts our health, right? Let's say we take like 2 people, person A and person B. Let's say they're like at the same level, at same weight, and they're leading almost a similar lifestyle, right? And so what happens is, let's say person A, if he and he felt okay, he needs to take responsibility when it comes to his health, and then he would start implementing one small change. Just eat 125 calories less than what is required on a day-to-day basis. Like, he just cuts 125 calories, like nothing crazy. It could be going from a mayo to a mustard on a sandwich, or using 10 grams less oil when it comes to cooking, right? And also going for a sparkling water instead of soda. Like, nothing crazy, just 125 calories less. And person B, he's just he just got a job maybe, and then he's so like comfortable, and then he doesn't make any drastic changes. He just eats 125 calories more, and it's easy to overeat, right? And then what's happening is they're doing this consistently. So person A is eating 125 calories less consistently, and person B is eating 125 calories more consistently. And then after 5 months, no difference at all. Like, both persons look alike. After 10 months, both persons look alike. If you were to ask, like, one person, they are making some changes, like nobody would believe, because they look almost the same. And then after 15 months, no difference at all. And after 18 months, is when you start seeing some difference. And then after 25 months, you can actually see visible difference between person A and B. And after 31 months, the change is actually startling. You'll be surprised, because person A, since he cut 125 calories, he lost 33.5 pounds just by cutting 125 calories per day. And person B, you can imagine, he gained 33.5 pounds just because he had those 125 calories extra. Nothing huge. And so you can see, like, the person A and B, they're 67 pounds apart just by making that small change. So we just underestimate the power of these small habits, but if you keep repeating them, they'll turn into significant results over a long period of time. And that's the power of compounding. And we can talk more about like how it impacts our wealth and wisdom, but that's what compounding is, and it can be applied to any part of your life.
And we were also talking, before starting the podcast, we were talking about systems. So I think a lot of viewers might want to begin with compounding, but it seems very overwhelming to begin with, right? Because if I talk a little bit about our brain is wired to look for instant rewards, instant threats. It's not very good at looking at things from a very futuristic perspective. Oh, if I do this, what are the implications going to be after 5 years, after 10 years? And compounding runs on this principle that it needs some time to flourish. Like it's like a seed. You need to water. Sometimes it would not grow. Sometimes it would be sad from you. But you have to keep watering, keep giving love again and again, again and again. So for someone who is a beginner and they want to start with the compounding, can you tell something about that, especially the systems that we were talking?
Yeah, sure. That's actually a great question, right? Like, we all want to be healthy. Like, we all want to have that money, but it's just that taking action, like, and what you said, it's like perfect. When it comes to compounding, it'll only work if you give it enough time. And in the previous example that we talked about, the results are only like visible after 31 months. So, it's very hard to keep going when you don't see the results. Like, you want to lose weight, but today, like, it's all about this evolution, like psychology, like humans, right? As humans, we are wired to not take action because we are wired to take the path of least resistance, because that's what kept us alive, like, right? So so when it comes to systems, so I love this book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. It talks about systems and versus goals thinking. Because let's say in the example, right, if two people have a goal of losing 10 pounds, and if one person lost 10 pounds and if the other person did not lose 10 pounds, it's not about the goal, it's about the systems. Like, one person had systems or habits set in place that actually made him achieve that goal, and the other person does not have that system, which is why he could not achieve that goal. So yeah, we'll break that down to systems. So what a system is basically, it's a combination of habits that you implement on a consistent basis. And let's say for it comes to health, like I divide health into three buckets. So it's diet, exercise, and sleep. So when it comes to diet, I have a few systems. So the first one is when it comes to my meals. I have a system that each meal has to have protein, period, right? So the reason being, so protein is actually one of the hardest macronutrient to get, and it's also one of the important macronutrients apart from carbs and fats. But carbohydrates and fats are very easy to get. You can just find it everywhere, but clean protein is very hard to get. And that's why I made a habit that every meal I need to have protein. And the result is basically, it's hard to overeat protein. And if you eat clean protein, it'll fill your stomach and you'll end up not eating more also. So it's like a win-win, right? You're getting, your one of the important macronutrients, which is essential for repair and growth. And also, you're not eating too much. So I have that system, and I'll just try to follow that as much as possible. My protein sources are eggs for breakfast, chicken or fish for lunch, and lunch and dinner, and I'll have Greek yogurt for snack. So once I have that in my mind, it's very hard to actually overeat, and it's very hard to go off track. And if there is really no time, then I will have a whey protein shake, which takes less than a minute to make, just like water and whey protein powder, and it's like, there is no excuse, right? So that's a system I have when it comes to like diet. And one other tip that I would give is, I don't have junk food in my house at all. Like and my wife and I'm glad that we both are on the same page, because especially when you're hungry, you tend to go for you'll have cravings, and you tend to go for junk food. And if it's reachable, right, and our human mind, like, we take the path of least resistance, and then if it's right next to us, it's more likely that we eat, right? Versus, like, if I don't have junk food in my house, and if I have that craving at like 9 p.m, it's highly unlikely that I would just take my car, go to a place, and then get some junk food. It's very unlikely, because I'm lazy, right? I just I would take the path of least resistance. I would like rather sit at home and have my stuff. So yeah, those are the a few examples. When it comes to diet, we can talk more about like exercise and sleep later. But yeah, it's a long answer for the short question that you asked.
Satish, this is beautiful. I mean, the power of systems is so underrated. People rely and talk about willpower too much, too fancily. And people depend on willpower too much. For example, I've seen a lot of people, they want to get with the workouts and they do get the workouts, but there is no system. So there is basically a lot of cognitive load on their mind. What system does is it reduces the actual cognitive load. So you can use that finite willpower or finite cognition you have every day into thinking something which is creative, which is going to get your life better, right? So I also want to talk about this. For example, you are a father, you have a young kid, you are in a foreign land, you are doing your permanent job, you are having a great health, you're managing your Instagram, you are managing your YouTube. So if someone just hears this, they might be, oh, this is too overwhelming, I can't do it. But you're doing it gladly. I know that this is a power of system. I would want us to talk more about this. But before that, can you talk about compounding in terms of wisdom and finance as well?
We need to have, I feel like, we need to start with the why, because, if we have a stronger why, we'll figure out the how part, right? So I did not come up with this health, wealth and wisdom, on day one, but I was like, I told the story about my financial journey because I do not have enough money, and then I went into the rabbit hole of how to save money and invest, and that's when I thought, okay, wealth is important. So at a high level view, just want to talk about why health, why wealth, and why wisdom. So at a high level, when it comes to health, I know we talked about it, but I just want to summarize like why health, because there's this quote that says like health is not everything, but without health, everything else is nothing. Yeah, the other one is a healthy man has 1,000 wishes, but a sick man has only one wish, right? So if you take just health away from somebody, they would all they think about is their health. So that's why like health for me is the foundation of everything. Like it's like glass table on top of which we place everything else, like our career, our relationships, our job, everything else is on top of it. Let's say if you lose a job, it could create some stress, but we can get in a different job and the glass table is still intact. If it's same, like, with a relationship, it could cause a lot of stress and pain, but over time, we could just come back to a normal. But if our health breaks, like if something happens to our health, the glass breaks and bringing down everything which is on the table. So that's why I feel like health is the foundation of everything, and I love it so much. And then when it comes to wealth, right? So I've seen like 10 years ago in 2013, I was just focusing on one thing, just make more money. And that's it. Like I was not even thinking about, optimizing my health or, thinking about my wisdom and stuff. But wealth for me, wealth equals freedom, period. Right? So freedom to do what I want to do, when I want to do, how I want to do, wherever I want to do. Like that's just about wealth. And so money is a tool to actually enable our dreams, but money is not the ultimate goal. So that's like, that's this I heard from this book, Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. It talks about like what wealth and stuff. So that is how I feel wealth is important, but it's not the only thing, right? So that's why I have this bucket. The second bucket is wealth, which actually we can talk about like how can we optimize our wealth and stuff, but that's the reason why I focus on wealth. And the third one is wisdom. When it comes to wisdom, so there is a quote from Charlie Munger that says, you can't go far ahead in your life with what you already know. Like you have to be constantly learning, because the moment you stop learning is the moment you stop growing. So that for me, like wisdom is all about like continuous learning. Like you can see take an example of any successful person, they all have been continuous learners throughout their life. Like taking any example, it's hard to find anybody who doesn't continuously learn, who doesn't read books or listen to podcasts and stuff. So that's the foundation when it comes to continuous learning. So that's how I divide a holistic approach to life, not just focus on one area. Because let's say if you just focus on fitness, right, you'll be healthy, but if you don't have enough money, you can't live life on your terms, because believe it or not, like, we need money to survive, right? And let's say if you just have money, but if you don't have health, what's the point of having money? Because you can ask somebody who is wealthy and who doesn't have health, like, he would give up all. I'm getting, like, he would give up all his wealth just to bring his health back. So that's why I feel like it's just not about one bucket. It's just a holistic approach to life, to think about health, wealth, and wisdom. So I know you asked about wealth, but so compounding, when it comes to wealth, it's actually, like, we all know about compounding. Like, if you've gone to school and if have like math in your as a subject, so we have this compound interest and simple interest that we all heard of.
Yeah.
But I never thought compound interest is something that which we can actually implement in a real life. I never thought that until I read this book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. So compounding, when it comes to wealth, I just want to give an example because I think people can relate to it when you give an example. So let's like take two hypothetical persons, right? Person A and person B. So person A, who is just 25 years old, and he just got a job, and then he thought, okay, maybe he needs to take action. He needs to save money and invest money, and then he'll just start investing $10,000 per year. Let's say like $10,000 per year for easy calculations, and then he invests that into an index fund, which we can talk about later. But index fund which gives maybe 10% per year return, right? And then he does that from 25 to age 35, and then he stops investing and he just moves on with his life. And this person B, he at 25, he was just he got his job and he was just partying, and maybe he didn't think about money too much, and he was living paycheck to paycheck. But when age 35, he realizes, okay, he has family, he has kids, and then he thought, okay, maybe he has to take his life seriously when it comes to investing. And then he realizes later at 35 that he needs to invest, and then he'll start investing the same, like $10,000 per year for the next 40 years, like 30 years, let's say from 35 to age 65. So now person A, who just invested for 10 years from 25 to 35, and then he stopped investing, and then let the money it get compounded for 65. And then this person B, he invested from 35 to 65, which is like 30 years. And at age 65, like, who do you think will have more money, is what the book told. I was like, of course it's person B. Like, he invested for 30 years, he will have more money. But it's actually wrong. Person A will have significantly more money than person B. I was like, this can't be possible. So I went and I
Wow.
checked in Excel sheet. I ran the calculations myself. So person A, even though he invested for 10 years, he will have $3.5 million in his bank account or in his investing portfolio at age 65, versus person B, he will have $2 million, even though he invested for 30 years.
Wow.
So that's a significant difference just by starting early and then letting the money compound, right? And then let's just give it one more example when it comes to, like, let's say if the person A, if he doesn't stop investing at 35, and let's say if it does it until he's 65, let's say, so person A has invested for 40 years and person B has invested for 30 years. And person A will have $5.3 million just by starting 10 years early, and person B will have still the same $2 million. So this is so
Wow.
so profound when it comes to wealth. But the only thing, just like you said previously, is it takes time. All this takes time. But for me, like, I trust compounding, I understood compounding. So I thought, okay, I'll just keep my head down and then invest. That's it.
It's so nice to hear from you, Satish, when I am listening to our conversation. Every sentence that you pass by, it's full of knowledge. I love how you quote different things, how you love quoting the authors, the quotes. You're giving them credit. You're showcasing that, okay, I have also learned this knowledge. You can also acquire it from this reference. And every word that you say, it feels like you have first implemented inside you, then you are able to talk about it in a very convicted manner, right? So I really love it. Also, I have seen and witnessed your transformation by my own eyes, right? So let's talk more about how you achieved your transformation. For example, you are knowledgeable enough, you know the power of compounding. And a lot of time, I get people, those who come with a goal, oh, in 2 months, I want to do this, 3 months, I want to do this. They have a very short term vision, as we talked about, right? But you have achieved a great transformation from someone who got fat to someone who is very active. And I've seen you on Instagram stories also. Sometimes in -10 also, you're completing your walk. So the kind of attitude you have developed, it's truly amazing. So, but how did you use this power of compounding, and what systems you have created in health that are non-negotiables? I know we have talked about junk food, but are there more systems that you have created around this?
Yeah, sure. And yeah, I think what you said. So just for listeners, right? Agrin have been my coach, for almost 1.5 years. Yeah, he was my coach. So I think that's for me the biggest learning I learned from you is my change in mindset, because I think even I came with that example of, okay, I want to lose 10 pounds in 10 weeks, or some crazy goals. And I'm sure you have like a lot of clients who come up with this goals as well. So I just want to in terms of like books, I consider when it comes to health, like this book Outlive by Peter Attia. So he actually talks about this health span, this having a long term vision, because so for me, so we all like think short term, but actually when we think long term, it's amazing, because what he tells is basically, like, let's say if you want to dance at your 80th birthday party, or let's say if you want to lift your grandkid when you are 70 or 90, and let's say if you want to just walk when you're 100, right? So this may seem like silly now, but you can look at people who are at that age. It will be extremely difficult for them to actually do this task. So let's say, so we have that goal. So if we come up with that goal, and then we reverse engineer to now, like, what can we do right now to enable that goal when we are 60, 70 or 80? Because actually compounding works negatively in any area of life. Like, believe it or not, like compounding is working in everybody's life, even they're aware or not, right? So what happens is so we all have seen our grandparents, they're good health until like 60 and 70, and that their health declines like rapidly. It's not a linear decline, but exponential decline. After like 70, for 10 years or 15 years, they're just in bed, they can't walk, and they're living this miserable life, I would say. I mean, it's not their fault though, but it's something that I feel like, okay, we can have that control. So we can delay that, we have that control of how many years we can stay healthy. So I used to be in the mindset that, okay, I just want to live longer, but for now, not only longer, but I want to live healthier, right? So what's the point of like living the last 10 years just in bed? It would be just burden to all, my family, friends and stuff. So that's how I approach my health, like have that long-term vision. And now, so for me, like my goals are, I need to, I want to lift my grandkid, like, from the floor, right? And then also I want to walk, and I also want to do a pull up when I'm like 100. I know it's an extreme goal, but I'm still working towards it. So I have those goals, and and now, like, when a reverse engineer, like, what can it do now to enable that goal? So it could like really translate into this beautiful like resistance training, or lifting weights protocol that I'm still changing it, like it's evolving, but in order to lift your grandkid, like I just do like some type of like squats and sometimes so that I'll have still that strength, because it's very easy to lose muscle if you're not putting it to work. There are like endless amount of studies that say like after 40 you keep losing like 10% for every 10 years, 10% of your muscle mass every year if you don't use it. So it's very easy to lose muscle, and we need to do like strength training. Yeah. So that's the long-term vision which you talked about, right? Like, instead of having the short-term goal, because I know like we can lose 10 pounds in 10 weeks, but what happens next? And if you don't have a system, it's easy to come back, gain those 10 pounds, if not more, like because if we have a craving, we might eat more than what we used to. It's easy to gain that the weight. So yeah, when it comes to systems, so I talked about like my diet, having protein, and also like not having junk food. So when it comes to exercise, and so I divide into 3 buckets, my health into 3 buckets. So health, when like diet, exercise, and sleep. So we talked about diet, the change that I made, but when it comes to exercise, for me, since I know that, okay, I have this goal at age 70, 80, but my current self would want to do anything to not work out, because it's the path of least resistance. Like, I don't want to work out, like it's like painful, and also it's tough. Like, why would I want to go to the process? But now I have a system that allows strength training. Like, yeah, it's not something that I started, but when I started lifting weights, I'm seeing progress. So one thing that actually humans crave is like humans crave progress. So when you see progress, it's almost easy to actually keep going, because you're seeing progress, you're seeing some results. So for me, my system is I'll hit gym like 6 times per week, and that's the system that I have. It can sound extreme, but previously I used to be in this mindset that it's either like all or nothing. So if I have time for 1 hour, I would work out. Otherwise, I don't. That's how I used to be. But now I switched into this all or something thinking, where let's say if I don't feel like doing, I would still go to the gym and do for 5 minutes, do anything for 5 minutes and come back. That's the system that I have. Okay. So, I mean, I know we are humans, and there are days we have kids, kid gets sick or we get sick. It's easy to lose off track. But so what I have in my mind is, let's say if I don't go to the gym for 1 day, I would do anything to actually go to the gym the next day. Like, I don't want to break the habit, like break the chain. That's the system that I have. So I'll tell myself, okay, even if it's for 5 minutes, I'll just go. And usually it's not like, once I hit the gym, it's not usually 5 minutes. It's more than 30 minutes for sure, because, once we're in motion, we'll want to keep the momentum going. So that's the system I have for exercise. Is not, I just focus on showing up, like master the art of showing up, because when we fix those inputs, the outputs, the results will come by itself. The score takes care of itself when we fix the inputs. And then I want to just talk about like sleep before we go on to health. But sleep is actually something that I underestimated for almost like 25 years in my life. There is this quote, it says, okay, you can sleep when you die, right? So I was like, okay, that was a mindset. And also, like, our society rewards people who give up their sleep to work hard. Let's say if somebody said, okay, hey, I slept only for 4 hours and I completed this project, then people will actually reward them. But there is this book like Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. It talks about the importance of sleep, and it completely changed my mind when it comes to like sleeping, right? So we sleep like 1/3 of our time, our whole life. 1/3 of our time is when we sleep, and it's such an important activity. There are so many benefits for it. So that's why I try to optimize my sleep. So what I do is my system is just try to be consistent with the sleep schedule. Like I go to bed almost at 11 p.m. and then wake up at 7 to 7:30. So I'll get at least 8 hours of sleep, and I'm very religious about it. I mean, there are days when we don't, things happen. There are some YouTube releases and stuff, but I try to stick to the same sleep schedule, because if I do that, the rest of 16 hours will be like beautiful. Versus if I give up my sleep, yeah, it'll be a groggy day for sure. So those are the systems, like when it comes to like diet, exercise, and sleep.
Lovely, Satish. I mean, during this conversation, I learned something which is very fascinating. I knew this word compounding, but I always thought compounding is just positive. The way you mentioned compounding works in a negative way as well, it really opens my eyes. Sometimes you just tend to overlook something which was right in front of you. So you can compound good wealth, good health, but you can also compound bad health, right? So someday a person might realize, oh, I am not fit. But this is not because you ate one thing bad last night. It is because that has compounded with your habits over a long period of time. And that's lovely. That's something I learned by having a conversation from you just 5 minutes before. So you have had an opportunity to have podcasts with a lot of amazing guests, right? What are some learnings that really opened your eyes? Let's say your top 2 learnings from the podcast you have done with some guests.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, so far I've released almost like 15 episodes. I've been doing this for almost 8 months. Not a huge time, but I want to be consistent with it. But so I want. We haven't talked about wealth or wisdom so much. Maybe I'll hit that area. So when I love this concept of financial independence, and then I bring guests when it comes to wealth. I bring guests who are actually financially independent and talk about like how they achieved financial independence. And one of the big learnings that I had from my podcast guests when it comes to financial independence is investing doesn't have to be difficult, or investing doesn't have to be complex. Investing is actually simple but not easy. So we know the power of compounding when it comes to wealth. We know why we need to invest, but most people would wonder like, okay, I know I have to invest, but I don't know where to invest. That's a good question or challenge that many people face. So I ask these questions in to all my guests when it comes to investing, and there is one concept that keeps coming up. Invest in index funds. Invest in index funds. So it's basically like when it comes to investing, it's almost in parallel with health as well. Like we want to take extreme approaches when it comes to health also. Like we want to lose 10 pounds in 10 weeks, right? Similarly, in wealth, like people want to achieve this like money, like get wealth, like I want to make 100% return, double my money in 1 year, or I want to become a millionaire in 2 years, 3 years, right? So we have these extreme goals even when it comes to wealth. But so again, this book Psychology of Money, it talks about Warren Buffett. Gives the example of Warren Buffett. The only reason why Warren Buffett became one of the richest person in the world is because of compounding, because he started investing at age 11 and he invested until he's 94 now. So for almost 80 years, his wealth has been compounding. So for me, like when it comes to investing, what I learned from guests is we should not focus more on getting extraordinary returns, because it's very hard to get extraordinary returns consistently. It's very hard. Like you can double your money in 1 year, but what about next year? What about the following year? It's very hard to beat the market. So instead, what the guest told is, you buy the market and just be consistent with it. And that's why I when it comes to investing, I invest in index funds where it's called S&P 500 in the US, and also invest in Nifty 50 index fund in India. This is not a financial advice. Please check, do your own research. But that's what has been working for me. So S&P 500, the returns are like almost 10% per year, and I've been investing for 10 years now, and then the compounding is like working, and I'm still excited for the remaining the exponential growth of the compounding. But yeah, that's a big learning that I learned. Don't try to overthink it. Invest in index funds. Be consistent with it. Be patient. You are bound to become a millionaire if you follow these principles.
Satish, I love how you're quoting books, right? It is very fascinating. I also read a lot of books. I really love them. And I think all this knowledge, we owe a big shout out to all of these wonderful writers, those who share a lot of their experiences. But Satish, I know it gets overwhelming, right? With these amount of books, where to start? So if a listener is listening to this and they want to read one book which will actually impact their life a lot, right? What would that one book be? Like Satish's absolute favorite.
So I have mentioned this book previously, but I still want to emphasize it. It's Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's actually a book that can impact any part of your life, because I don't want to give let's say, if somebody who is interested in health, if I give wealth book, that may not have a significant impact, and then he would not read, right? And this is a question that comes up on my Instagram page as well, can you give me one book? Because it's hard to give recommendation, because it all depends on the person's life at that time. Right. If it's 10 years ago I was just thinking just about money, if somebody has given me a health book, I would have not read it all. But Atomic Habits by James Clear is a book that actually applies to any part of your life. Even if you want to become healthy, it has practical insights. For wealth, it has practical insights, and to also, for self-help, it has practical insights. So that's a book that I highly recommend on my Instagram page as well, and actually it's a Bible for my whole life.
Satish, we all have role models, right? We love to learn from people. Do you have any role model? You must be having a lot of role models. I know I'm doing unfair by asking you one name, but do you have any particular role model that you really look forward to? Okay, I have learned a lot from this person.
Yeah. So first, from my parents, my parents taught me the power of hard work, because to achieve anything significant, we need to put time, and we need to put the work, right? So they taught me the power of hard work. No matter at what stage we are, even though right now they are comfortable when it comes to money, but they're still working hard, and that's something that culture as role models. But apart from my parents, there are actually three persons I just want to give an example. I just keep coming to them when it comes to role models. So for wealth, I look up to Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, he was one of the richest person in the world, and that's not why I have him as a role model, but he's such an inspiration because he's a living example of compounding, and he really distills complex topics into simple terms, and I really like having him as a role model, because he has his life lessons where he still reads at age 94. He's age 94 as of this recording. He still reads book, and he said he started reading since age 8. Consistently reads. That's what he said. That's what he does. Throughout the day, he just reads, and that's why I have this. I have him as a role model. Just no matter how many excuses we have, I'll find time. Even the richest man in the world finds time to read. Then what? Who am I, right? Who am I to come up with excuses to not read? So I just keep reading. And there's this second person, Tim Ferriss. He has his own podcast called the Tim Ferriss Show. The reason why I look up to him is basically he has optimized not only one area of life, he has optimized like multiple areas of life. And that is why he's an inspiration to me, because he has got great health. Like he knows a lot about, like he has even books about health. And he's like almost he's actually a multi-millionaire. He has sorted out his wealth. Like, he wrote 4 Hour Work Week, which, it's an amazing book also. And then he optimized his personal development goals as well. So he's someone who I look up to when it comes to like optimization, and also like how to lead a life, like a holistic life, when it comes to living a meaningful life. And third person is Naval Ravikant. He's the CEO of co-founder of Angel List, but he has some, like, I listen to, I think I listen to almost every podcast episode that he has given on, like, Joe Rogan show or Tim Ferriss. But he also talks about compounding a lot, and he says, like, any benefit in life, it's actually due to compounding. Like, anything when it comes to relationships, when it comes to, like, health, wealth, or like even your content creation, it's all due to compounding. And he has changed significantly influenced my thinking. So I know you asked for one role model, but I can't resist. So I gave like three role models.
Wow, I truly love it, Satish. I mean, if someone is going to go through the video, they're going to get so much knowledge. I mean, this is overwhelming for me as well. I would like to go through my podcast again with you. That's so nice of you. Satish, one thing I really love about you is that you have created a system that we talked about, and you're managing a lot of things, especially with having a young kid, right? I think he or she is just 2. And how do you manage content creation with job, with living abroad, with managing your marital life as well, with going to the gym as well, with seeing the nutrition as well, completing your steps as well? I mean, how do you manage it, and how would you recommend someone who is just starting with this? Would you give them some tips, please?
Sure. I think the one thing, the major thing that I learned when it comes to like reading books and also studying successful people is, one good thing is we all have the same amount of time, like 24 hours. Like even the richest man in the world and the poorest man in the world, they have only one thing in common, that's the time. So we all have 24 hours in a day. So when and the time is the most scarcest resource, and which is why I'm like ruthless about my time. So what I do is, so when it comes to goals, so we in this 24 hours, there are like 24 hours in a day and 168 hours in a week. So it's how we actually implement that time. It's also like investing, it's also compounding, like when it comes to time as well. So what small areas that I want to focus on when it comes to implementing my time. So I divide my buckets, like, these 3 buckets, like health, wealth, and wisdom. So when it comes to health, I have just very like small goals, but I make sure that I have some habits that I follow. Right. So we talked about like working out, nutrition, and also sleep. So what I try to do is, like, it's actually health is one of the keystone habits. What I mean by that is, when you start taking care of nutrition, when you start working out, when your sleep is good, you actually have more energy and you feel like doing more, and also you will utilize your time better when you are healthy. Because if you let's say, we have all seen this, like when we eat too much, we feel so lethargic, and then our whole afternoon would be just like sitting on a couch and then watching a video or watching TV, right? Versus, like, if I have those small goals that I accomplish, I'll actually be more productive during the day. So and that's how when it comes to health, like I have this like habits that I follow, and then I have a routine. So I usually go to the gym at 6 p.m. So I know, like, whatever I do, I'll just like, sometimes I'll just stop in between, because I have that habit. I've created that habit of going to gym at 6 p.m. And then it's like repetition, like, every action that we take is a vote for for the type of person we wish to become. This James Clear said this. So I try to do that when it comes to health. So and then when it comes to content creation, I like batch processing a lot. We have touched about it before we hit record. But when it comes to content creation, it's actually I told you, like, I have recorded 3 months worth of podcasts. I have already done the recording. I do like batch recording. So on my content creation, I have a set schedule. When it comes to podcast, I release a podcast every other Friday, so once in 2 weeks. So that's the schedule that I thought, okay, it's something that I can stick to and be consistent with it. But let's say if I'm recording reels, right, and then I would have all the setup with me, my video setup, lighting and everything. So instead of recording just one reel, I would just record 5 reels or 10 reels in one sitting, and then I would just release them. I will just stagger the release like once every week or so. So that it's actually we can apply this to like lot of areas of life. This batch tasking. Basically, we also have that mental, I would say, mental headspace. So if we already started it, like, why not, like, do more, right? And also I do, when it comes to like cooking also, I do like batch cooking. So instead of just cooking for one meal, we're anyway spending the time. Like, why not cook like 2 or 3 meals? So that, you don't have to like invest your time. So I'm less ruthless when it comes to my time. And that's how, like, I want to utilize as much as I can. So that's how I do, like, health, wealth and wisdom. I have this reading schedule. Like, I have a morning routine because I feel like morning is something that I have control in. At that time, like, most likely my son and my wife would be sleeping, so I have like full control of my time. So I would just like read, write, and also do some meditation in the morning. So that's how I think about like time. So these are all like basically like habits that I've built over a long term that I stick to, and then and then allow what I do, so it doesn't feel like work, right? And then so that's how I try to manage like just batch processing.
Wow, there are so many key takeaways that even I want to take away from here. And Satish, it is lovely having you here, and I would love to continue the conversation as well. But with it demand in the time, we would like to end the conversation by just one more question. I know you have given a lot of time, but then one more question is for the clarity of people, okay? So you have started a new venture and you seem to be doing amazing. Your growth on Instagram is phenomenal. Your growth on YouTube is phenomenal. So if someone is a newbie and they are looking to start their own Instagram page, they have something to share, or they probably want to start with a podcast. Can you give probably 2 or 3 actionable steps that they can do in order to get started with it?
I can't believe I'm actually somebody's asking me this question, because it took me so much time to actually start my own journey as well. Because I started reading books in 2015, and then is 2022 is when I opened my Instagram page. So like it took me so much time. I always wanted to do, share my thoughts, but it, like, I was in this inferiority complex. I would always think like, what would people think of me? So if the first advice that I would give to anybody who is willing to start is just start. It sounds cliche, but it's actually like there are so many people who are listening to this podcast who want to do like something on their dreams, but still they are hesitant when it comes to taking that first step. Because the first step, there is this quote, the journey of 1,000 miles will begin with one step. So look at any successful person, they're not successful right from the beginning, right? So the reason they become successful is they started. So the first step first advice I would give is to start with like wherever you are, with whatever you have, because we all have that same amount of time. And actually nobody thinks about us, because they are thinking about themselves. So it's like they're so busy with their own lives, that nobody is just thinking about ourselves. So look at like any content creator. If you look at the first few posts, they're actually not that great. I mean, even they're embarrassed with their first post, their first video, but it's actually, I mean, we all like, we were newborns at some time, like we were kids, right? At that time, we didn't know how to walk also, but we learned, like we started and then we start, keep taking action and then we'll get better at it. So the first advice is to start, no matter where you are, like with the phone, like, this content creation. The beautiful thing is there are no gatekeepers. Like, if you want to share your thoughts, you can open Instagram page or a Twitter account within like 5 minutes and then share your thought, right? Previously, it used to be like people had to give chance for you to showcase your talent, but now there are no gatekeepers. You can showcase your talent or your thoughts if you want. So the first one is to start. And the second advice that I would give is to is be consistent, because when it comes to even like gym or even content creation, like, we get motivated on one day and then we just start, and then after 2 weeks, after 1 month, we don't see results, and then we would give up on our dreams. But if we be consistent, try to be like consistent when it comes to like, just think about habits also, like have a schedule that it's like, I have for Instagram, I have a schedule, like, I do like 4 posts per week, no matter what. And then on YouTube, I have a fixed schedule. There are 2 reels every week, and then 1 podcast every other week. So I have a schedule that's already like system that is set up, and then I would try to be consistent with it as much as I can. And of course, there are days when I don't feel like posting, or I don't feel like recording. But it's just I want to. I'll always come back to like, this habits, like, whatever what small habit that I can do, just keep going. So number 1 advice is to start, and number 2 advice, the second advice is to be consistent with it.
Satish, not only this is going to be a great learning for the viewers, but a lot of learnings I am also taking away today. So for those who do not know Satish channel, I'm going to link all the socials. Please go through it and improve your knowledge on health, wealth, and wisdom. These are some core of any human. So give it a shot. Go to his channel, subscribe, and I hope you liked it. We thank you, Satish, from my entire heart for coming here, giving us the time. You're living in a different time zone as well. And I hope we get to record the second part of
Sure,
this.
yeah. Thanks,
soon.
Agrim. It's been a pleasure to actually be talking to you, and thanks for having me on this podcast. I hope people will take the first small step of action right after listening to this episode. But yeah, I'm excited for the part 2 as well. But yeah, thanks.